did I think of Pacific Rim Uprising? Well, I thought it was a bit of a... I'm sorry, that just came out. Just roll the intro, I guess. Snippety snap, my fellow human beings and other creatures of the cosmos. This is Sam the Geigen fan, back with another edition of Year of the Monsters, and today we're going to be taking a look at my thoughts on Pacific Rim Uprising. I just saw this movie just today, so it's very fresh in my mind. Also, saw it in IMAX, got this sweet collector's ticket for it, so that's cool. So what did I think of Pacific Rim Uprising? Did I think it was good, bad, or somewhere in between? Thought it was good. Not great, not terrible. Thought it was good. It was a perfectly solid kaiju movie. If you guys have been around watching the series for a while, then you know that I was very pessimistic to this movie because of its trailers. And if you haven't watched those videos, then basically I didn't like the trailers. Mostly because they didn't do a good job of fan service and they were edited really weird, and it showcased a lot of stuff in the movie that I didn't really, find intriguing, and a lot of these flaws are still kind of there, but, new flaws kind of emerge, from this movie. But anyways, why don't we just talk about the stuff that I liked and what I didn't like, because that's what we come to these reviews for. We come to see whether I liked it or whether I didn't like it. Okay. And before we begin, I'm just gonna have to issue a spoiler warning. I know what I said in one of my earlier videos that I don't like to do spoiler warnings because I like to go off the knowledge that you guys have already seen it. But I feel like for a movie like this, that's technically still in theaters, not everyone has the access, to go to movie theaters instead of places like Netflix or places like that. But anyways, just saying that now so I wouldn't have to do it later. Okay. The characters were kind of in the middle overall for me, as well as the story. A lot of the stuff in the movie was actually very in the middle, perfectly average for me. The story, characters, and music, perfectly average, 2 thumbs to the side. It's mainly the stuff with the special effects and the monsters. And actually there is one thing about the characters that I want to talk to, but that is for the negative section of the video, so we're just gonna have to wait until then. I really enjoyed the Jaeger on Jaeger action and the Jaeger on Kaiju action. I know that I stated in the trailer breakdowns for Pacific Rim Uprising that I didn't really like the fact that they were, that the robots were all weightless and flying around the city and all that stuff, and it is still a little distracting, but it's not the worst thing in the history of anything ever. You do have to suspend at least a little bit of your disbelief, for a movie like this, which, I did do, and I did enjoy it. At least for the Jaeger on Jaeger action. The Jaeger on Kaiju action is still... I mean, there is, still the jump kicks that defy, all forms of logic, and the fact that Jaegers are being thrown around like they're made of nothing at all, but just do some mental gymnastics and you'll be perfectly fine. I really enjoy the Jaeger and monsters in this movie. I know that I stated in my, trailer breakdown that I didn't really like the kaiju designs or the Jaegers, but I've warmed up to it. I like these designs and these characters. The kaiju are pretty cool. They have, more unique abilities like they did in the first one that make them stand out from each other. Some absorb the attacks of the Jaegers and can use them, against the Jaegers, which is actually pretty darn cool. Some can dig, some can shoot, thorns out of their back, which is really cool, really like that. The Jaegers are really cool too. I really enjoy, all the Jaegers in this movie. Of course, you have the main fleet of Gypsy Avenger, Saber Athena, Bracer Phoenix, and Guardian Bravo, and they're cool. They don't really do... They have their own standard weapons, and each have their own unique enough designs that make them stand out from each other so that they're not, completely the same. You guys are probably wondering right now which one of these Jaegers is my favorite. So I'm gonna tell you that right now. My favorite Jaeger in Pacific Rim Uprising, out of all the Jaegers that we got, was Obsidian Fury. This Jaeger is hecking awesome and I love it. Every second that it's on screen, it's just... It's amazing. I love it. It was stated to us at New York Comic Con that this Jaeger was the first one to not be piloted by human pilots. And so my mind immediately jumped to it being kaiju powered, which I called it. I heckin' called it. Obsidian Fury is kaiju powered, and when it was revealed, I had just the biggest grin on my face, just like, I called it. I heckin' called it. My biggest fear when it came to this character was that it was just a non-human powered Jaeger. That it was just, kinda there. It was just went rogue and stuff, but it didn't, and the best aspect of the movie, which is, Obsidian Fury, kinda leads me to talk about the worst aspect of this movie, which is, lots of continuity errors and the twist villain. Continuity. Okay, I need to kind of vent about this. In the movie, it's stated that, once all the kaiju, eventually do come back, and it's kind of awesome that they do come back. They come back via kaiju Jaeger hybrids, or I guess it's Jaeger drones, as they're called now, which is kind of a dumb name. I'm just gonna keep calling them kaiju Jaeger hybrids because we get revealed that these monsters are getting attracted towards Mount Fuji because Mount Fuji, is an active volcano. And it's stated earlier in the movie that kaiju blood is very highly reactive to rare earth elements, which I guess Mount Fuji has. So the explanation in this movie is that the kaiju are being drawn to Mount Fuji so that they can, cover the world basically in darkness and, kill everyone, which goes completely against what the kaiju, were all about in the first movie. What is stated in the first Pacific Rim is that category kaiju 1 through 4 are basically, there to take out, all major population sources. So all the big cities around the Pacific. And then categories 5 and above are basically the ones that are, cleaning up everything. They're gonna just get rid of everything. So that the precursors, which are the aliens that, Gypsy blew up in the first movie, so that they can colonize the planet or that's suitable for them. So basically, they're kind of a cooler version of the Gems from Steven universe. And that's kind of weird for me because they showcase monsters that are in the first Pacific Rim that are, said to be attracted, to Mount Fuji. This includes monsters like Knifehead and Trespasser and those kinds of people. It's just kind of a big jump in continuity that I can't really, get around with, because it goes against what is stated in the first Pacific Rim. Now, my second least favorite aspect, or my biggest least favorite aspect of this movie, is Newt becomes a villain. Basically, Newt becomes an antagonist. And how this comes around is that, or he's basically being mind controlled by the precursors, and thus is sort of like a, human world hub, and is essentially putting kaiju brains into Jaeger drones, and is basically opening up breaches all around the Pacific to, destroy the world. Which is, I have problems with this subplot. I really do. I don't have necessarily problems with the character, because Newt feels like a good contender to be, the twist villain in the movie, because, he was always drifting with the kaiju brains in the previous movie, and he still is in this movie, and it is actually the most uncomfortable I've ever been in a movie, probably ever. I mean, just being brutally honest, the way that, drifting with a kaiju brain is portrayed in this movie is, it's very passionate, let's just say that. If you guys have seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it is just, I don't like that, okay? So, Newt is basically, a vessel for the precursors in the human world. Okay. So what he does is he essentially mind controls the kaiju, but not really, because they come from the precursor dimension, and Newt doesn't have, any real precursor technology, aside from the dwarf kaiju that we see in the trailers, but where do they come from, and how do the kaiju know that they have to fuse with the dwarf kaiju to become the mega kaiju? And you see what my problem is? This plot doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And later on in the movie, we get a scene with the mega kaiju and Newt coming more or less just like face to face with each other, and nothing happens. like, really nothing happens. They just look at each other and then the Mega Kaiju just heads off towards Mount Fuji, which I have issues. Why is the Mega Kaiju acting so, friendly towards Newt? How does the Mega Kaiju know that Newt is a precursor in, the mind? In the first Pacific Rim, when Otachi came and found Newt, in the shelter, it made sense because Newt was drifting with the Kaiju brain, and all Kaiju are, genetically, the same. They're all clones of each other. They just, look a little different. They have different features. And so, did he drift with the Kaiju so many times that he just became a mind-controlled vessel for the precursors? Or was it just that they didn't want Newt to outright become a Kaiju, and so they had to create a forced plotline that basically stated that, okay, Newt is a precursor now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going with the latter. But all this aside, I think we're done with this review, and honestly, this movie, despite, the flaws I have with it, is still pretty good. Looking at this movie now, I was thinking about giving it a check it out if you wanna, but that was before, seeing this movie. And while I still give it that rating, a check it out if you wanna, 2 thumbs to the side, I do think that, overall, it's a very high check it out if you wanna, or a very low recommended. Because, there's plenty of stuff to like in this movie, and don't let the subplot of Newt being mind-controlled, really get to you. And when it comes to a lot of the, great stuff that really, goes on in this movie. Because there's a lot of great stuff, and there really is. So, just check it out if you wanna. But, as usual, these were just my thoughts. Now I'm wondering, what did you guys think of Pacific Rim Uprising? Did you think it was good, bad, or somewhere in between? Either way, this is Sam the Geigen fan telling you guys to not be mind controlled by precursors because it's dumb, and remember to wash your hands.